Hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of Ignition Time. We know the pandemic has impacted millions of lives in the United States and tens of millions of lives across the world. Welcome to our channel, everyone. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda with Ignition Time. Now, the impact of the pandemic is significant. At the time I'm recording this episode of Ignition Time, I can tell you that my 3-year-old daughter is sick. We did do an antigen test and she does not have COVID. But I can tell you that many of my friends and many of my family members are sick because of the Omicron variant that is spreading across the country. Now, what is the one sector, the one occupation, the one category that is important during a pandemic? Well, it's healthcare workers. Unfortunately, and here's a headline of an article on your screen from Fox Business, pandemic is causing a great resignation of doctors and nurses. In fact, this industry has lost approximately 500,000 workers since February of 2020. In fact, the healthcare profession is losing workers, with nearly 1 in 5 workers quitting since the pandemic began, according to a recent report in The Atlantic. We'll show you this headline from The Atlantic on your screen right now: why healthcare workers are quitting in droves. About 1 in 5 healthcare workers have left their jobs since the pandemic started, and we'll provide you with the link to this article in the description section below. The problem is that hospitals have been overwhelmed even prior to the start of the pandemic, and the nation has avoided some of the most serious, some of the most apocalyptic scenarios, such as ventilators running out by the thousands. But the capacity of hospitals has been overrun, and at the time I'm recording this video, we have well over 850,000 people who've died as a result of this pandemic, and countless healthcare workers have been traumatized. In fact, here's a comment from Ashley Harlow, who's a Virginia-based nurse practitioner who left her ICU after watching her grandmother Nellie die there in December. She said, "It's like it takes a piece of you every time you walk in." So folks, the problem is the healthcare industry has lost approximately 500,000 workers since February 2020, according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. Here's a very important quote from the article. Nurses spent a year battling a largely unknown assailant, running low on gear, fearing we might bring something deadly home, getting coughed on by people who pretended that our fights were imaginary. These are people who don't believe in the vaccine. By the way, individuals who are unvaccinated are now ending up in the ICU more than ever before. Getting coughed on by people who pretended that our fights were imaginary, that our struggles, watching people die day after day, no matter what we did, were literally fake. That is what an intensive care nurse wrote in a new book that chronicled her experiences during the heights of the pandemic. Now, this report also explains that the reasons for leaving are many. Some healthcare workers are traumatized to work anymore. Others are forced out, suffering from long-term side effects after contracting COVID. Some lost their jobs, and many decided to leave the profession, and this was their personal decision. Now, think about this. Someone goes to school, whether you're a nurse practitioner or a doctor, for many, many, many years. A lot of time, effort, sacrifice, and a lot of money is spent, and then you quit. 1 in 5 workers are no longer in the profession. This is astonishing. And folks, this may be the beginning. According to the American Association of Critical Care Nurses, a survey showed that 31% of the remaining healthcare workforce have considered leaving their current employer, while 66% of acute and critical care nurses have considered leaving their profession. According to Dr. Vineet Arora, who's the Dean for Medical Education at the University of Chicago Medicine, he said that in meetings with other healthcare leaders, when we go around the room, everyone says we're struggling to retain our workforce. Nobody says we are fine. Now, folks, the report also observed that between 35 and 54% of American nurses and physicians felt burnt out already, even before the pandemic began, because they're dealing with death, trauma, and stress that are just part of the standard job description. But with the pandemic, everything has been magnified significantly, making the entire healthcare profession demoralizing and unsustainable for some individuals. Now, vaccines have made things easier, but unfortunately, when mask mandates are not followed by people, when people don't vaccinate themselves, the healthcare system does get overwhelmed again. Many healthcare workers actually told The Atlantic that the final straw for leaving was not the virus, but the great dissatisfaction in how their institutions responded to it. In other words, they did not feel that they were taken care of in the hospitals and the clinics they worked in. They had to work with very little influence or very little say under strenuous working conditions for inadequate pay, and they said instead they simply decided to resign. According to Dr. Molly Phelps, who's an emergency room doctor with 18 years of experience, she told The Atlantic that if her institution had thrown a little more of a bone, they would have been able to keep me miserable for 13 more years. And here is what Dr. Phelps said. I was willing to stay and be miserable. But she said, after being shocked that her hospital leadership never acknowledged what we went through as she continued to care for patients who seemed to forget their humanity, she realized, I think I'm done. And she said, and I think it's okay to walk away and be happy. Folks, we're talking about an emergency room doctor with over 18 years of experience. This is a horrific impact of the pandemic. Let me know what you think in the comment section below. An industry that has lost 500,000 workers since the start of the pandemic, an industry that is desperately needed in the United States of America, for that matter, any country, and an industry that is falling apart in front of our eyes. This entire pandemic has not only altered the lives of tens of millions, I would go so far as to say hundreds of millions of individuals around the world, but it has the potential to permanently alter the future of healthcare in our country. In fact, this pandemic has already brought the healthcare system to its knees. I hope that the next time you see a doctor, you can tell your doctor, your physician, how much you appreciate him or her, because I think every healthcare professional, by the way, I'm a healthcare professional myself. I'm a licensed physical therapist, and my wife is a physical therapist as well, who works with patients every single day, including individuals who are unvaccinated and individuals who still think that COVID is fake, which is pretty astonishing when you think about it, because these individuals are not only endangering themselves, but they're endangering everyone they come into contact with. Again, like I mentioned earlier, the unvaccinated are the ones who are now showing up in ICUs and overwhelming our healthcare system. Thank you so much for watching. Please click like, please click subscribe, please enable notifications. My name is Dr. Nitin Chhoda. This right here is a little bit of information about me. You'll learn more about who I am, what my journey has been like, and why you should listen to me. Please click like, click subscribe, and enable notifications. You can also follow me on Twitter. This right here is my Twitter feed. My Twitter handle is ignition_time. That's ignition_time. Thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you in the next episode of Ignition Time. Take care. Bye.